we knew this was coming at some point, but did you think he was going for Kristaps Porzingis? It's almost like they thought they were going to get it on Giannis. They didn't get Giannis, so they went to Porzingis. Now, Porzingis is a stretch five if he's healthy. Rim protection, block shots, three-point shooting, helps Golden State.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
You guys had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. You knew you were facing a Mike McDonald defense that disguises everything, and that was your game plan, to play scared. I mean, Mike Vrabel, I love the guy. He played that game, Donnie, like it was a preseason scrimmage in August and not the Super Bowl.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Was last night so tough for you to swallow that you now want to get rid of the owner?
Yeah, that's right.
Because the big bad Knicks came into town off an embarrassing loss. And you guys were flexing your muscles
They
about
were not
how
flexing anything.
we're back.
Nope.
We're back. And you lost by 50.
Yeah, well, this is the problem.
Let's make the owner sell the team
Man,
because
he ducked the luxury
Sixers
tax.
can't compete.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. It's another Friday edition of the show, and we got a lot to get to here on the program today with some very big news in college football. In addition, we got some great guests. John Lafayette will join us courtesy of The Measure here on the program to go over the latest in ratings for last week's Super Bowl and a whole lot more. Also, Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report. Special guest here on the program, big leaguer Troy Johnston of the Colorado Rockies, who's getting ready for the upcoming World Baseball Classic. Will weigh in on that as well. Latest in the NBA with Adam Kaufman, a preview of this weekend's All-Star festivities, and a recap of the first half of the NBA season. Did you get all of that? Good, because we got 90 minutes to get to it. So let's get started and start off with arguably the biggest post-college football story of the season, which is a college football quarterback that could be headed back to the NCAA. A bit of a surprise. Trinidad Chambliss looks like he's going to play at Mississippi for yet another season. He was granted an extra year of eligibility by a state court judge who issued an injunction that paves the way for Chambliss to be eligible in 2026. Now, the NCAA has not yet weighed in on this, and they certainly could petition this to force Chambliss to attempt to go into the upcoming NFL draft. But as of now, it does at least look like, from Chambliss's perspective, he'd like to return to Oxford and get paid some more NIL money and chase a national championship yet again. Meanwhile, the National Football League saw Stephon Diggs at wide receiver in the Super Bowl. Now you see him in court. He pled not guilty today to felony strangulation and other criminal charges stemming from an alleged dispute with his personal chef. Also, the National Football League announced that they will have a Wednesday game to open up the 2026 season with 49ers Rams in Australia. That could be played Wednesday or Thursday, just simply depending on the time zone. Whichever game that does not take place, the Seattle Seahawks home opener will be on. Get ready for an action-packed NFL season, but folks, we're still months away from that. The National Basketball Association appropriately has fined the Utah Jazz and Indiana Pacers for what they're saying is integrity. We call it tanking around here. The NBA said that the Jazz got to pay up $500,000 and Indiana Pacers $100,000, saying that both teams sat healthy players in recent games and saying that kind of integrity won't be tolerated. Meanwhile, the Jazz did it again. the other night. So I don't know if they're going to be getting another fine too. So the competition committee, the board of governors, all involved in this. Never seen anything like this happen in the NBA before, where players are being sat at the fourth quarter of games. But it certainly has happened, and now you got to pay fines on that. We'll see what happens in the future. Big shocker in the NBA last night. Second time this week, a double-digit favorite ended up losing outright. And this time, it was the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Bucks win the game 110-93 without Giannis. AJ Green from Milwaukee had 17 points on 5 of 3 from three-point range. Also, Jalen Williams didn't play in the game, in addition to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Oklahoma City 42 wins at the All-Star break. Mark Daigneault saying that basically just didn't have enough in the tank to win that one.
Mark, what made getting into the paint in the deep paint a challenge tonight, and where did you feel like maybe you guys had some opportunities that you weren't able to capitalize on?
Yeah, we weren't able to really get any offensive rhythm tonight for whatever reason. I thought there were a lot of possessions we were not very organized, which set you back at the beginning of the possession. Milwaukee did a great job. Obviously, they outplayed us the whole night, but obviously just wasn't our best night. But I thought our process let us down on a lot of plays. I mean, to take advantage of break, you don't get a break like this. The last time we had this kind of sustained break was before the season. And the next time you get this type of sustained break is after the season. So you got to just fill your tank however you need to do that. The guys have been around, most of them, so they understand what they need to do individually to get themselves mentally, physically, emotionally recharged for the stretch run. So we trust them to handle their business in a way that best positions us as we come out of the break. But that's all.
The oldest player in the history of the NBA to record a triple-double is now officially LeBron James. 41 years old, 44 days. In the Lakers' win over the Mavericks, LeBron had 28 points, 12 assists, and 10 rebounds. Final score, Lakers 124, Mavericks 104. LeBron, after the game, more concerned with his team winning, naturally, than hosting that triple.
LeBron, a great team win. You set the tone early, and you finished with your 123rd career triple-double. When you hear that number, what do you feel?
The win. That's the most important. And, to be able to do it and get the win, that's what means more to me than anything. But been very blessed to play this game, play it at a high level, and was able to do it again tonight. I think that was my only mindset, was how can we go into the break on a high note. And obviously, that team is, even though what, no matter who's out on the floor for them, they're well coached and they're going to play hard, and they did that for the majority of the game tonight. But just try to set the tone, and in the first half of the season on a high note.
Yeah, Najee was playing at a high level. Gaff was, he was helping us on both ends, and so for those two to go out, next man up, unfortunately those two couldn't come back.
Jason, you're on the short list of people who played in this league at 40. What's it like for you to see LeBron, putting up a triple-double at 41?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I think stat might be wrong, but he is leading the league in fast break points, I think. And so, understanding he's playing the game at a high level at the age of 41 to put up a triple-double is really amazing. And it just shows, for someone who's taking care of his body and mind up to this point is playing the game the right way and at a high level.
Meanwhile, the Utah Jazz paying up $500,000 and then losing last night to the Portland Trailblazers. Final score in that one, 135-119. Drew Holiday, the story in this one, 31 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists. He spoke after the game about posting up and getting a win when they need it before the break.
I think just being consistent, being persistent, keep on fighting. We know that it's a game of runs, and we'd had a big run early, and then they came back with a big run and got it within 3. So we felt like the momentum would change, and locked in Svi. Svi came in and then had a big fourth, which I think nobody really expected, but just came in locked in and then took care of it down at the end of the stretch.
And you personally had a big night offensively. What were you seeing from their defense that you were able to take advantage of?
Making shots. I think I was trying to make shots, make plays, get into the paint, trying not to turn the ball over, which is the biggest thing. I think if we take care of the ball better, we definitely put ourselves in the best position to win.
A hard-fought game. The game got away from us in the third quarter, mostly because of fouling. They shot 16 free throws in the quarter. When that happens, it's also hard to get into a rhythm offensively because you're playing against a set defense for most of the time. So I thought besides that piece of the game, I would have liked to see us be a little bit more physical with our switches. But I thought overall, the guys played as a group. We moved the ball. It was just one of those nights where when it slipped away from us a little bit in the third quarter, we couldn't quite regain control. We made a nice run in the fourth and just couldn't quite get over the hump.
All right, let's get to some college hoops from last night. Should be a very popular weekend in college basketball with no NBA, no Major League Baseball yet, and no NFL, of course, for the first time since September. North Texas defeats Memphis. It's been a disappointing season for the Tigers. Memphis was 1.5-point favorites. North Texas wins the game 76-69. Jashawn Stevenson had 16 points. He made 5 of 5 3-pointers. And as I said, Memphis' season supremely disappointing. 12-12 under Penny Hardaway again this season. All right, number 10, Michigan State, 1.5-point favorites tonight. That's the big showdown in the Big Ten. They will take on Wisconsin this evening. And the team that is left undefeated in college basketball, like we all expected, not really. Miami, Ohio, ranked 23rd in the country. They are 9-point favorites tonight against Ohio. Also, one smaller trade in Major League Baseball, Jesus Sanchez, outfielder of the Houston Astros, was traded to the Toronto Blue Jays for Joey LaPerfido. You may not have heard of either of those players, but that's what we're here to do, is inform you. LaPerfido used to play previously for Houston, so now he is back there again. Tom Vecchio talks baseball with us right after the break.
It looked like a clump of grass. It didn't look like an eagle. That's the one, by the way, USA Today claimed was the best ad. They thought the Lay's ad was number 2. The worst ad was any ad that had AI in it or had an AI company behind it. It wasn't because of the AI. It was because they were the most nonsensical ads you've ever seen. Does anybody look at these ads and understand if they are actually trying to do what they're trying to do, which is to showcase the product as opposed to being great with AI? Very embarrassing.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Road trips to Kentucky and Tennessee, which are pressure environments where mistakes can snowball a team quickly. And not even listen to those games there. How about the home games they have left with Alabama and Florida, who bring size, who bring pace, and physicality that punish you on both ends of the floor?
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Patriots postseason to the worst regular season of the last umpteen years. Fair enough?
Fair.
All right. So the Patriots postseason, they averaged 1.13 points per drive, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The winless Cleveland Browns about 10 years ago averaged 1.22.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Always great to catch up with Tom Vecchio, and with Tom, it's our first baseball conversation of the upcoming 2026 season. So great to have Tom back here on the show, and we'll talk about some of the teams that he's at least in on in the early part of spring training. Naturally, as we get closer to the season, a lot more opinions, easier to formalize. Pitchers and catchers reported they're back on the field. Full squads all reporting early next week. Spring training games next weekend. Wow. Hey, Tom, great to catch up with you here on the show, and let's kind of get into it. Some of the news on players has been stolen a little bit by the news that came out in the last 48 hours, which is sort of going through some of the new rules in Major League Baseball, which always catch everybody, and everyone starts getting angry and yelling and screaming. But meanwhile, all these new rules have really worked out the last couple of years too. But the ABS system is in play. Happen on the head this year to sort of challenge these calls. And, I wonder if it affects your thinking at all in dynamics of betting or anything else.
It does, and immediately my mind goes to probably the opposite ends of the spectrum, where one would be in one scenario, pitchers are getting out of innings quicker because we're actually seeing pitches that actually should be strikes. And those are going to be called strikes and strikeouts. Therefore, pitchers are getting out of innings earlier and they're saving pitches. Therefore, they can go deeper into games. And on the other side, it would be, hang on, that pitcher actually, that's a ball. And that pitcher has to stay in. Therefore, the next guy comes up, he fouls off some more, another walk or a single here or there. And therefore, he's being pulled early, especially early in the season, where we know that pitchers are not fully stretched out and they don't want them to go super deep. So they're going to be super, conservative with things where they actually want to pull them after 60, 70 some odd pitches, and they're only getting to the fourth inning. So it's way too early to tell where things would go. Frankly, I'm going to say to be very cautious with betting overs on pitcher strikeouts or innings. And I'm going to be siding with a lot of unders until we get a decent sample size.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. And, naturally, spring training, we'll see some of this in action like we did last year, and then we'll know more during the regular season. One of the teams that Tom wanted to bring to the table today and kind of go through some of the thinking on maybe some futures opportunities, Tom, is the Detroit Tigers. So I guess it's a two-part question. Number one, why do you like the Tigers this season? And number two, is it simply because of the moves that they made in the past week, or was it something that you liked prior to these moves to add the couple of pitches that they did, one future Hall of Famer and another starting pitcher that slides into the 2 spot in their rotation?
Right. I would say it's a bit of everything. It's not just one thing. First off, Skubal deserves that money that he got. Getting Valdez is great. Bringing back Verlander is great. To me, I think that the Tigers need to have a little bit of urgency when it comes into the season and really approaching the deadline, because there have been some quotes and things that Skubal has referred to dating back to last season, that he wants to be somewhere where the team wants to win as much as he does. And we know how the team ended last season, which was absolutely terrible. The collapse in September, the Guardians come storming back, they win the division. But if Skubal is going to remain with the Tigers long-term as he approaches free agency, he needs to believe that the Tigers are willing to take the steps and go all chips to the middle to prove to him, essentially, I don't want to say they need to bend the knee to him and say, if you want to stay, we'll do whatever you want. But they need to make moves. Last trade deadline, acquiring Chris Paddock, no offense to him, but he's not a needle mover. They need to make moves to show that we are willing to make the moves to retain the 2-time reigning Cy Young, arguably the best pitcher in all of baseball. So what they did last year, ending right at 85 wins, I'm going to say they could have been vastly over this number, Craig, going to 80, 88, 90 wins, whatever it might have been, if they just didn't collapse in September. So the urgency and the kind of randomness that we saw last year, those things will combine with the offseason moves and a great hitting lineup to push them to closer to 90 wins this year.
Yeah, definitely. So 59 wins and had a big lead, and then all of a sudden things sort of fell apart. But with this rotation now of Skubal, who is back, Valdez, who's been added, Verlander, who's been added to the rotation, would slot into the 4 spot. Looks great on paper. We know paper doesn't win anything these days, especially with starting pitching, but they certainly look a lot better, you would say, at the start of spring training as well. All right, their season win total, by the way, 85.5 to win the Central, plus 115 to win the American League. Detroit is at 9-1, and the World Series odds are 12-1. So before we pivot over and do the Texas Rangers here for a minute, Tom, another team that you like, which of those 4 are the ones that you've played or are considering playing?
It would be the win total over 85.5. Again, I think this is the spot where they could go over this and, not win the AL Central. If the Guardians have another strong year, if the Royals have a little bit more consistency, they can go over 85.5 and still not win the American League. But again, I think the urgency from the Tigers needs to be paramount to push them over this and acquire more pieces at the deadline to really show that they're serious and Skubal wants to stay there.
Let's get to the Texas Rangers here. The Rangers definitely going through some changes, Tom, in the offseason, making some big trades and getting a new manager. Skip Schumacher is the new skipper there, took a year off and is back after a nice little run with Miami making the postseason. Marcus Semien is out. Brandon Nimmo is in. They also added Mackenzie Gore to the top of their lineup, and so their rotation, 1 through 3, veteran and solid. Rom, Evaldi, Gore, and then who knows if they get anything from Leiter and Rocker at the back end of the rotation. I think they just signed Jordan Montgomery, right? Didn't they just sign him, I think, if I'm not mistaken, too? All right, so they got 6 or 7 starters. They're going to need a lot more. But the Rangers, definitely, Tom, the big news for them this week was losing their top prospect, Sebastian Walcott. They're going to have to replace him. Do you like this team enough to go over on this number as well, 83.5?
I do, and I think the lineup is good. It's not great. I think most people would agree with that. We know how good the Mariners are in that division. The Astros, I'm not super sold on them this year, but it really comes down to the pitching for me. And DeGrom's not the number one pitcher that he once was. I'm very high on Mackenzie Gore, as I have been for years since he was traded from the Padres to the Nationals in the Soto deal. But to me, it comes to stability. If you can get DeGrom and Nathan Eovaldi to bring you a solid kind of 1-2 combo, Gore takes a step forward because he was fantastic in the first half of the season last year. And then if we see a small step forward for both Leiter and Kumar Rocker, now we're dealing with a rotation there's no pure number one. There's no guy that's a number 5, but they're all like a 2, 3, 4. And as long as we have stability, that will push them over. That will bring us where you don't need to push DeGrom. You actually ease off him because the other guys have taken that step forward. And that just brings a sense of confidence and trust for the entire team. And that was what will help push them over the 83.5.
When is Pro Baseball Today getting fired up here on SportsGrid?
We start this Sunday, 10 to 12, every Sunday from now until the end of August. We're doing previews. We'll touch on the World Baseball Classic as we lead into that over the next month, and then talking everything, awards, team win totals, you name it.
Can't wait to catch it, Tom Vecchio. Thanks again. Have a good weekend.
Same to you.
We'll talk prediction markets now.
It looked like a clump of grass. It didn't look like an eagle. That's the one, by the way, USA Today claimed was the best ad. They thought the Lay's ad was number 2. The worst ad was any ad that had AI in it or had an AI company behind it. It wasn't because of the AI. It was because they were the most nonsensical ads you've ever seen. Does anybody look at these ads and understand if they are actually trying to do what they're trying to do, which is to showcase the product as opposed to being great with AI? Very embarrassing.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Road trips to Kentucky and Tennessee, which are pressure environments where mistakes can snowball a team quickly. And not even listening to those games there, how about the home games they have left with Alabama and Florida, who bring size, who bring pace, and physicality that punish you on both ends of the floor.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Patriots postseason to the worst regular season of the last umpteen years. Fair enough?
Fair.
All right. So the Patriots postseason, they averaged 1.13 points per drive, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The winless Cleveland Browns about 10 years ago averaged 1.22.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Time for us to check in on the latest on the NBA. And for that, it's also time that we check the prediction markets and how they view the upcoming NBA All-Star Weekend. Lots of events, of course, including tonight, tomorrow night, and of course, the All-Star Game coming up on Sunday. So without further ado, what we do is we turn it over to our friends from the early line. Donnie Rightside, Joe Ranieri, take our first look at the prediction markets for the upcoming NBA All-Star Weekend, Slam Dunk Contest, 3-point contest, Rising Stars, and a whole lot more. So let's check in with Donnie and Joe as they have the very latest on predictions.
Today is Friday the 13th. Most people get spooked off by that, but tomorrow some people get spooked off of Valentine's Day as well, Joe. Celebrate it with your loved one. You know what you'll love the best here? Watch the dunk competition with her instead of taking her out to a nice steak dinner and never calling her again. How about that, Joe? You got plans for Valentine's Day? Come on now.
Oh, it's going to be much like every Saturday, Donnie. Pretty much the same thing. There'll be steak, there'll be food involved, and yeah, we're good to go. It's amateur night. You know how that is.
Find your Valentine. Maybe you can find that this weekend as the MVP in the NBA All-Star Game, which, again, good luck trying to convince people how you can actually win MVP and what the structure of the tournament is, who can actually win the games themselves, and how many minutes and how many points you have to have. We have to explain that to your public here. There's a pretty good chance they're probably not going to bet on it or care if they don't know what's going on. But I'll tell you who cares right now. The people that are firing in on Victor Wembanyama right now, 23% chance to be the MVP of the All-Star Game. Next closest competitors are Cunningham, Brown, Edwards, Booker, and Durant here. Wemby seemingly running away with this.
Well, because he also happens to be the one guy that has been vocal about this meaning something to him, and that he is going to treat it like it's a meaningful game. So if he's going to he's yelling and screaming and telling everyone the effort is going to be there. As long as it's there, it's not going to. Nobody's going to give him any resistance. So he is likely has a really good shot at being the MVP.
Now, let me ask you this. This is how much I'm following the NBA All-Star. Where is the All-Star Game at this year? Where is it?
That's a great question, Donnie. I have no idea, and nor do I care.
I think it might be LA. No, you know what?
It is.
I think it's LA because I remember us.
Yes, you're right. It's where the Clippers play.
We were talking about Kawhi Leonard being like home at that point.
Yes.
He's got to be in this. Okay, so it is in LA. So if you scroll down and scroll down and scroll down, Kawhi Leonard is at 5%. A little home cooking advantage there that you possibly could get. We'll find out this weekend and see what happens here and get back to you on Monday when it's all set and official. How about this? The 2026 NBA All-Star player to hit a half-court shot. Now, you don't have to pick the individual player to do it. That would be crazy. But the question asked, Joe, will there be any player to hit a half-court shot? The rules market goes. This market will resolve to yes if at least one half-court shot is scored by any player at any point during the game, which includes the All-Star Game, round robin, and championship games, any overtime periods as well. I'm going to say no, because I'm going to tell you right now, if they're shooting from half court, that means this game should never be played again, Joe.
I agree. But you know there's going to be dudes trying to take shots
and he has to make
from there. And you got to make it, yeah. So, you know, but you know there'll be opportunities there one way or the other because then nothing will get the crowd going if anybody actually shows up. Like a half-court shot with like 12 seconds still on the shot clock. So should be an interesting game to say the least.
Yeah, they just line up on like each side here, Joe, go back and forth to see if they can actually make a half-court shot. That'll be fun for the actual people in attendance and also watching on their televisions to watch out and play at this point. Let's get back to the Winter Olympics, Joe. Most silver medals. USA, 75% they're trading at right now. The next closest is Austria and Norway. If we look at the medal count from yesterday, Joe, the U.S. has 7 silver medals. They lead the way right now in both medals and also in chances to gain the most silver medals in this competition.
Yeah, and currently right now, that's kind of where they're on track. I mean, right now, with Italy kind of beating everyone, certainly to the podium in the bronze category. I don't know how many people had them being number 1 or number 2 when it came to total medals, but still a lot of events to go. But if you wanted to take a dark horse, Donnie, you know, why not go a little further down the board there and see if you can't take a flyer?
Men's ice hockey today live, Joe. Finland and Sweden in the third period have a 3-1 score. Let me hit the refresh button here to make sure I can get the latest for the people while we're live on the air. Okay, 11:35 left in the third period here. Finland 3-1 over Sweden, and then Italy and Slovakia. Slovakia with a 2-1 victory over the home team Italians, Joe, with 13.5 minutes to go there. A little bit later today, you're going to have Czechia and France play, and also Canada back out on the ice again to take on Switzerland. How about that?
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I don't think he was trying to take a shot at the team at all. It was just a plain and simple and obvious fact.
I think what's difficult, though, is, and I agree with you, right? I guess I agree with LeBron. The assessment of it all, it's why the Lakers organization seems to be comfortable with that truth, unless they disagree. But again, I don't really know how you disagree.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You guys had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. You knew you were facing a Mike Macdonald defense that disguises everything, and that was your game plan, to play scared. I mean, Mike Vrabel, I love the guy. He played that game, Donnie, like it was a preseason scrimmage in August and not the Super Bowl.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It looked like a clump of grass. It didn't look like an eagle. That's the one, by the way, that USA Today claimed was the best ad. They thought the Lay's ad was number 2. The worst ad was any ad that had AI in it or had an AI company behind it. It wasn't because of the AI. It was because they were the most nonsensical ads you've ever seen. Does anybody look at these ads and understand if they are actually trying to do what they're trying to do, which is to showcase the product as opposed to being great with AI? Very embarrassing.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Great to end our week with Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report. I would highly encourage all of you interested in learning more about what prediction markets are and how they operate and what the future may hold by going to LegalSportsReport.com, where Sam, one of the primary writers there and columnists, and dives in each and every week with content here on our show, but also online as well. All right, Sam, I feel like I had to do that once every few weeks to catch people up with
appreciate it, Craig.
Here and you know, yeah, I mean, you never know. Somebody could. I always say doing television, and I said this in radio, you never know when somebody is watching or listening for the first time, or there's people out there right now that are wondering the same thing. So here we go. All right, so top story of the day with us, Fair Markets and Sports Integrity Act has been introduced. And so I know what they would like to do, but I'll let you tell us, and if you think that what they're asking to do is reasonable within what their parameters are.
Yeah, it's this new federal bill from Congressman Dina Titus, who is a Democrat in Nevada. Nevada prediction markets, the issue has been especially important to them. They were the first state to launch one of these lawsuits against prediction markets, which pretty much, as every state has alleged, is that they are using a loophole to offer sports betting under the guise of financial derivatives regulated by the CFTC. So basically, they don't have to pay sports betting taxes, comply with state sports betting laws. They're in 50 states as opposed to the 39 that have legalized sports. Could go on and on about what the argument with prediction markets is. This is a new federal bill, so a bill Congress would be weighing theoretically that would clarify that these markets cannot offer any markets on an athletic event, or another interesting wrinkle, casino-style games, which so far I haven't seen Kalshi or Polymarket or any of these others move into basically online gaming, but would be under the guise of kind of federal derivatives law. Now, that we always talk about that with the end game for sports betting, right? That sports books want people to become sports bettors and then eventually get states to pass online casino. So that could be the end game with prediction markets as well. I think we don't really know what the end game is entirely, but the big kind of aspect of this being an important newsworthy item is that it's a bill in Congress, which has so far not done anything with prediction markets. They have had hearings where they interviewed the new chair for the CFTC, Michael Seelig, who recently said that he's going to issue rules that clarify that prediction markets can exist, they can offer sports, and kind of signaled they would fight against some of the states and almost the 10 court battles we have now. So be interesting to see if this picks up any steam in Congress. Obviously, Titus has been very opposed to them because she's from Nevada. She takes a lot of money from the sports books and casinos in Nevada, who have been very against prediction markets. I think it's worth noting that the BetMGMs of the world, the Caesars of the world, the sports betting apps that have legacy casinos, they've not gotten into prediction markets yet, while DraftKings and FanDuel and those have. So there's a bit of a split there where, Vegas and the casinos want their interests represented as well. I know Senator Richard Blumenthal has said he's working on similar legislation. It would amend the Commodities Exchange Act, which is kind of the whole, the crux of the debate of, did that act intend for these to exist? Did it not? So we'll see if it picks up any steam in Congress. Would be surprised if this ultimately becomes a law, but you never know what can happen. It's kind of the first iteration of it. And it signals that, maybe the federal government is finally trying to weigh in on this issue, which has so far largely been left up to the states. There's about 10 state lawsuits playing out, and we've speculated that eventually the Supreme Court is going to have to decide. But if Congress does in fact pass a law that clarifies before that, that could change things up a bit.
Let's check in on the state of Michigan. And Michigan is a state that has a lot of sports betting going on, of course, very popular with Detroit and some of the other major cities that have professional sports teams, college sports teams as well. Looks like another team in their area, or another state in their area, Illinois, who imposed a bigger sports tax. Seems like they could be following suit, Sam. Do they have a chance of just basically mimicking exactly what Illinois did last year?
Yeah, there's definitely a chance, especially when the proposal comes from the governor of the state, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, proposing to do pretty much exactly what Illinois did this past year, which was, hey, we have a sports betting tax rate, but let's generate more money from this industry by keeping that rate the same and then adding a 25-cent per bet fee onto every bet. So basically a 25-cent tax that every operator has to pay on their first 20 million bets. And then after that, let's up the fee to 50 cents per bet. So or operators in Illinois have been really upset about that. They've been having to pay a lot more money to the state, and the way they've handled that was passing the cost down to the customers. There's now a per bet fee surcharge in Illinois, which we've seen implemented, and reports kind of signal that betting may be a little bit down in Illinois since that was implemented. Not at a huge rate where, the industry, everything is moving offshore like everyone was threatening, but there are some signs there that betting behavior has changed a little bit with that being passed down to the customer. The Michigan proposal, one of the reasons that the Illinois tax was such a big deal wasn't because it was an isolated incident in Illinois. It's because you can have other states neighboring, like you mentioned, Craig, now look to Illinois and say, hey, they were able to do it. Why don't we do the same thing? Why are we letting sports books not pay the same that they do here? Michigan has historically had a pretty easy tax rate for sports books, about 8%. So this would make it not so easy. They would also change the online gaming tax from about 24% to 36%. And it comes as the state is facing a budget shortfall from a gap in federal funding. You had pandemic relief, you had Medicaid relief from the federal government, which is now kind of falling off. And I wouldn't be surprised as more governors look to their budgets when they, start the negotiation process this year. They say, hey, we have a big gap in federal funding. What's an easy way we can raise taxes without, nobody likes to raise taxes, but how can we do it without pissing off most of our constituents? Online gaming companies, sports books are always an easy target, especially when you have other states like Illinois. They were able to do it successfully. So they can, the governor's probably thinking, why don't we just do that here? See if we can raise the money. Now, it'll definitely face pushback from the sports books themselves, but, you have to wonder how much sway they're having in legislatures these days when, these things are passing so easily. Of course, prediction markets won't be paying this rate, but, that's another story entirely. So we'll follow along what happens in Michigan, but wouldn't be surprised if this was the last state considering a sports betting tax increase this year.
Sam, we hit on Alaska. Now let's hit on Hawaii, two states that do not have legalized sports betting, but arguably the smallest in the country, and obviously in different places in the country as well. But very passionate fans of sports, maybe more so in Hawaii, honestly, than in Alaska because of all the West Coast sports that are going on out there, major college out there as well. Is there a chance that the island gets sports betting legalized this year?
Yeah, I think Hawaii, I would add, is interesting in this conversation as well, because I think like the Hawaii teams always play late on the college sports slate. So a lot of times, people who are up betting on, certain sports are betting on Hawaiian teams, and, they're not, the state isn't really seeing any of that money. But this year, will it be legalized? I would say probably not. There is a bill being considered. It was actually just passed out of committee, but with a very interesting amendment. The amendment clarified the effective date of sports betting in Hawaii would be the year 3000, which popular Jonas Brothers song, but also used as kind of a measure in this case to delay things out and push things out for an indefinite amount of time. It's probably the maximum they could do in the bill. And the reason lawmakers say they're doing that is because they want to continue the conversation of sports betting. They want it to be something that's talked about in the legislature. They want to get to a place where they're figuring out how to regulate it, but they're also very wary of sending dollars out of state. They have been for a long time introducing a FanDuel, DraftKings into the state. They're wary that, getting more people to bet in the state could create problems here. And then the companies that benefit from that are out of state. Additionally, Hawaii has no gaming at all, really. They're right in line with Utah. So this would be a big change. They wouldn't be going from, a state that regulates gaming to a state with sports betting. They'd have to create a whole commission to do this kind of thing. They don't have much experience with it. So this year will it get legalized? Probably not when you talk about the amendment that pushes it out till 3000, but it does mean the conversation will continue. The governor is on board if responsible gaming protections get added in there. So I wouldn't say completely no, but it's not looking great. Maybe someday for Hawaii.
Great to catch up, Sam, as always. I'll be out Monday. I know that Adam Kaufman will be in for me. I hope you guys have a great conversation. I'll see you back here next Wednesday. Thanks for coming on NewsWire.
Sounds good. Enjoy the time off, Craig. Thanks.
Thanks, Sam McQuillan joining us. As I did mention, I will have the day off on Monday. Make sure you still stay tuned. My buddy Adam Kaufman is going to join me coming up. We'll also be hosting News on Monday. We'll be right back with John Lafayette.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I don't think he was trying to take a shot at the team at all. It was just a plain and simple and obvious fact.
I think what's difficult, though, is, and I agree with you, right? I guess I agree with LeBron. The assessment of it all, it's why the Lakers organization seems to be comfortable with that truth, unless they disagree. But again, I don't really know how you disagree.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You guys had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. You knew you were facing a Mike McDonald defense that disguises everything, and that was your game plan, to play scared. I mean, Mike Vrabel, I love the guy. He played that game, Donnie, like it was a preseason scrimmage in August and not the Super Bowl.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It looked like a clump of grass. It didn't look like an eagle. That's the one, by the way, USA Today claimed was the best ad. They thought the Lay's ad was number 2. The worst ad was any ad that had AI in it or had an AI company behind it. It wasn't because of the AI. It was because they were the most nonsensical ads you've ever seen. Does anybody look at these ads and understand if they are actually trying to do what they're trying to do, which is to showcase the product as opposed to being great with AI? Very embarrassing.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We've got John Lafayette from The Measure, who's measuring all the data and numbers from last week's Super Bowl, a big win for the Seattle Seahawks as they are world champs. Let's bring in John to tell us whether or not it was a big win for NBC, for streaming, and for ratings as well. Great to have you here on the show. And John, I see that you sent us a really fascinating look at the way that the Super Bowl not just is digested, but streamed as well, minute by minute, showing all of the different ratings when folks were watching the Super Bowl. I'm going to guess that a lot of folks were watching the beginning of the game. I know that they were watching halftime because I saw some of the data on that. But I do wonder, in your opinion, John, did the late fourth quarter and post skew some of these numbers? Because unfortunately, with about 6-7 minutes to go, the game was more or less over.
I don't know. Where I was, a lot of people were spending more time in the kitchen than watching football because even in the second quarter, it seemed like a pretty good bet that the Patriots didn't have it that day, and there were a lot of punts, a lot of kicks. They put the foot back in football, and I don't think it was a very exciting game. And certainly by the second half, the results were a bygone conclusion, and that absolutely contributed to lower ratings in that the end of the third quarter and the fourth quarter. If you look at the graph, it went straight downhill. The highest ratings were in the second quarter, right before halftime. Everybody was sort of hoping, the way the NFL season has gone, that we would see record ratings the way we've seen record ratings all year long. But the Super Bowl came in about 2% lower than last year, with 124 million viewers, which is the second best it's ever done. Now, if you look at the rating, you can see, if you look at the chart, which came from the folks at iSpot, which measure viewing using very complicated kind of measurements, the ratings go up from the beginning. They peak in the second quarter at about 133 million people, and then they come down. Which unusual is that the halftime show is usually very popular. The Bad Bunny halftime show only did 128 million people, down from what Kendrick Lamar did the year before. Some of that was siphoned off by the people turning into Kid Rock and the Turning Point alternative halftime show, which did about 6 million people. So basically, you didn't get your record, and that's mostly because the game just was a dull game featuring two teams that people weren't really invested in.
Next year, John, it'll be unprecedented that ESPN gets a Super Bowl. Naturally, it'll be produced by them and also simulcasted on ABC, but ESPN is getting the billing for this upcoming Super Bowl, which is the first of its kind. It's always been on one of the primary major networks. Not to say that ESPN is not at this stage in life how we watch and stream and consume TV, but they have now the moniker of putting together arguably what they're saying is the biggest Super Bowl of all time.
Well, that's what they're saying. They're calling it the year of the Super Bowl, and they're starting the promotion and the advertising and everything else right away. As soon as the game ended, Chris Berman sent the game, was at the Super Bowl in Santa Clara, and he sent the game over to SoFi Stadium where Scott Van Pelt was doing Sports Center, and they called that the handoff, and that's the beginning of an entire year-long promotion for this game. They started doing vignettes featuring guys who've scored touchdowns in the Super Bowl. It's called I Scored a Touchdown, and it starts off with David Tyree. You probably remember. He's the guy that caught the helmet ball for the Giants against the Patriots. And it's going to go every week. They're going to have another guy who scored a touchdown. There were 60 Super Bowls. They're going to have 52 weeks of that stuff. So there's a lot of guys that are going to feature. They're going to be doing a lot of cross promotion. You got Disney's, all those Disney characters, whether it's the Marvel superheroes, whether it's Mickey Mouse, whether it's the Disney princesses, all being brought together to promote the Super Bowl and to make sure that everybody knows that game is going to be on ESPN and ABC. It's important that it's on ABC because you got to have that broadcast component to keep all of the people happy to say, well, what if I don't subscribe? How do I watch this game? And when it's the Super Bowl, it's virtually a national holiday. And actually, it's a bit of a holiday because next year's game is going to be on Valentine's Day. So that'll make that game interesting as well. Now, they're going to be promoting this game with We're Going. If you remember, after every Super Bowl since 1987, they've had the MVP come on camera and say, well, you just won the MVP in the Super Bowl. And they go, I'm going to Disney World. Well, that's going to be sort of the theme of this promotion. It's going to be running all year long. All kinds of people are going to be featured in cameos and celebrities, all saying, wow, we're going to Disneyland, just like the people in the Super Bowl. And the ad sales people are going to be busy as well. All of this material can be sponsored. And instead of just sponsoring it in 1 day or 2 days or pregame and postgame, it's going to be an entire year of being associated with the Super Bowl. So they're going to really try to generate a lot of revenue, not just in February, but year-round by having the Super Bowl.
John, let's close it out with the Olympics. We're a handful of days in. What's the viewership look like?
Viewership is almost double what they saw last time around in Beijing. So that's pretty good results for NBC. The first 5 days, they averaged 26 million people watching per day, which is an awful lot. That's the most since Sochi, which was in 2014. Sunday night, you had 42 million people watching in prime time. That's huge. People are streaming the game. They've streamed 5.3 billion minutes on Peacock, and that's up 36%. They've got a big advantage with this European time zone. They're showing a lot more stuff live, which people like to watch. And they're getting some great production. I mean, everybody's talking about these drones. They're able to bring you really close to the action, close enough to the action to make some of the athletes nervous, but no accidents yet. So that's pretty good. And we've still got hockey and ice skating to come. So these numbers will probably continue to be strong, especially if the U.S. team keeps winning medals.
Great. John, have a great weekend. Thanks again for coming on NewsWire. We'll check back with you next week. Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We got Adam Kaufman coming up to go into the latest odds for NBA's All-Star Weekend, including the Slam Dunk Contest. That's about 10 minutes away here on NewsWire. But up next, our very own Mike Cardano sits down with Brian Christopher from BC Ventures. We'll play that interview for you when we return next here on this Friday edition of NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
You guys had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. You knew you were facing a Mike McDonald defense that disguises everything, and that was your game plan, to play scared. I mean, Mike Vrabel, I love the guy. He played that game, Donnie, like it was a preseason scrimmage in August and not the Super Bowl.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl Sunday, about $870 million was traded. Again, I caution you, that is not the same as sports betting handle for a variety of reasons, but we also saw Nevada sportsbooks, which includes Las Vegas, only took about $133 million in handle. That was its worst performance in the decade in terms of total handle on the game. Now, we don't have ratings. We don't have a lot of other things. There's a lot of reasons for that.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
The Patriots postseason to the worst regular season of the last umpteen years. Fair enough?
Fair.
All right. So the Patriots postseason, they averaged 1.13 points per drive, okay? The winless Cleveland Browns about 10 years ago averaged 1.22.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
So you know Gary Bettman wants the USA to win because he knows the bump that they can get out of this. Canada wins, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Right? And the level of pressure on Canada in this is next level. It's like, it's equivalent to like Argentina in soccer or something, Brazil. It's one of those like, yeah, if you lose, don't bother coming home.
Winter Game Central, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. As I mentioned, Adam Kaufman's going to be with us in just a few minutes. We'll have the final word here on NewsWire on some sports odds, predictions, and whatever else they're doing this weekend at the NBA's All-Star Weekend. But first, let's check in back at the G2E conference from this past October. And look who's here. We got our buddy Mike Cardano doing this interview with Brian Christopher from BC Ventures. And Brian Christopher, if you're unfamiliar with him, heavily involved in casino gaming and slots and everything that has to do with a casino. Brian Christopher is, of course, very caught up on that. So he will sit down with him and get the very latest. And then when we return, we will come back and hear from Adam Kaufman. Also, a quick reminder, here is the interview.
All right, welcome back to G2E here in beautiful Las Vegas. Viewers, we've got a treat for you today. We've got Brian Christopher from BC Ventures. Now, if you know anything about Brian, if you follow him on social media, it's like finding Where's Waldo. Now, Brian, do you even know where you were last week, this day, this time?
It's actually, that's a funny question. Someone asked me earlier today, and that's the only reason I know the answer. I was in Delaware last week at this time.
What was in Delaware? What was in Delaware?
I was launching my new slot machine over in Delaware and hosting events with fans over there.
So you were with us last year, so I want to go over a couple of things since last year. So congratulations, you passed 2 million subscribers.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Now, what is this betting $1 million to win $1 million?
Oh, I'm so excited about this. This is my invention that I came up with. I'm literally going to bet $1 million. The series is called Betting $1 Million to Win $1 million. So what I'm doing is I am gambling $10,000 in one slot machine every day for 100 days.
Okay.
But the catch is I'm only playing it on one slot machine, and the video must be up to 3 minutes in length. So in 10
you have to make it last for 10 minutes.
No, it's 3 minutes. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
It's a up to 3 minutes long, and I only stop playing if I hit a jackpot or we go broke. That's it. So $10,000 a day, 100 days, $1 million in, and the goal is to cash out $1 million. So I can say I won $1 million.
It's a good goal.
It's a great goal. I mean, it's going to be hard to get 100% payback at the end of the day, but we've already started filming it, and we're doing quite well, surprisingly, actually.
That's fantastic. Now, you mentioned you were in Delaware promoting your slot machine. Last year, you teamed up with Gaming Arts to come up with your. Is this the same slot machine?
This is
Tell me what's going on with that.
Yeah, we showcased it last year. It's called Brian Christopher's World Cruise. We do a lot of cruises, and so this one was the perfect theme for us. And so, yeah, we've launched it, and we're just traveling around with it right now. So that took us to Vancouver recently, and then we're just at Delaware Park, and it's all over the country, and even on cruise ships also, of course.
Cruise ships. I've seen you on cruise ships.
Yep.
Now, you've got a number of brands you're affiliated with. There's a bunch of them here. Tell me about Flip the Switch.
Okay, so Flip the Switch is our baby. That's our company, fliptheswitch.com. It's a site for gamblers out there in the world, whether you like online gambling, casino gambling, or sports betting, to go and learn about it.
Is it educational?
It's very educational, but it's like it goes beyond. It's not like press this button to play. It goes on the inside and outside of how slots work. And every day we answer questions submitted by viewers asking us, hey, I heard about this. Is this true? Is that true? And we will debunk a lot of things that people think are how slot machines work or whatever else.
Give me something that should be debunked, that everybody is wrong about.
If I turn the volume up on the machine, does it pay out more? Right? I get that one a lot. I'm like, no, they don't care about that. If I stop the reels, does that change? And I give myself the bonus, does that mean I got the bonus because I stopped it? I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with that. Like, a lot of people just assume, but there's zero skill in slot machines. No matter how many times I say it, people still think if I rub the machine, or maybe if I only put in $20 bills and not $100 bills, right? They have all these theories about, oh no, you have to use your player's card or never use your player's card. So yeah, the whole site is all about educating our players on how to play and also what to play. So we'll show them their favorite land-based games that they can also play on an app for free from home. Give them everything you can think about.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And what's the URL for that?
Fliptheswitch.com.
Bam.
Yeah.
So what are bonus drops with your partnership with BetMGM?
Yeah, we have so many partnerships, like I said. So I'm an official ambassador for BetMGM. And so I'm promoting them all the time. I'm always traveling to play online with them as well. And we're just past our 1 year anniversary with them, and we decided to give back to our community. So if you go to our page on the BetMGM app or on their website, it's called Brian's Bonus Drops. And what that is all my favorite games are listed on that page. And I keep updating it as I find new games or what have you.
You guys had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. You knew you were facing a Mike Macdonald defense that disguises everything, and that was your game plan, to play scared. I mean, Mike Vrabel, I love the guy. He played that game, Donnie, like it was a preseason scrimmage in August and not the Super Bowl.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl Sunday, about $870 million was traded. Again, I caution you, that is not the same as sports betting handle for a variety of reasons, but we also saw Nevada sportsbooks, which includes Las Vegas, only took about $133 million in handle. That was its worst performance in the decade in terms of total handle on the game. Now, we don't have ratings, we don't have a lot of other things. There's a lot of reasons for that.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
The Patriots postseason to the worst regular season of the last umpteen years. Fair enough?
Fair.
All right. So the Patriots postseason, they averaged 1.13 points per drive, okay? The winless Cleveland Browns about 10 years ago averaged 1.22.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
So you know Gary Bettman wants the USA to win because he knows the bump that they can get out of this. Canada wins, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Right? And the level of pressure on Canada in this is next level. It's like it's equivalent to like Argentina in soccer or something, Brazil. It's one of those like, yeah, if you lose, don't bother coming home.
Winter Game Central, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Adam Kaufman is back from the West Coast. Football season has ended. Basketball season continues. We'll check in with Adam on that. But first, Adam, I know obviously not the result that you were looking for there out in California, but a great season for the Patriots. Felt like a rare Super Bowl where the team that lost had a lot of silver linings, where you sort of felt like, you know, at least from what Mike Vrabel said and sort of the way that the fan base was reacting was, yeah, it happens, didn't have a good game. Your takeaway, was that basically the same?
Yeah, I mean, listen, 17-4 all in, including the playoffs, a hell of a season, especially for a team that a lot of people wondered if it was even win 8 games, which would have been double what it had done under Bill Belichick in his final year or last year under Gerard Mayo, back-to-back 4-win years. So under Mike Vrabel and obviously with an MVP candidate in Drake May, nobody could argue. Incredibly successful season. Nobody can say otherwise. But I do think, you know, and we'll have plenty of time to do this in the offseason, I think next year with a first place schedule, a much, much more difficult schedule than what it had last year, which, you know, at least in the regular season was historically easy. I think a lot of people are going to use next year as kind of a referendum on this year. If the Patriots go out and win 6, 7, 8 games and take a huge step backward, people are going to look at this year and say, see, fluky, just like we were screaming about all year. It was the schedule. Whereas if they go out and they win 10, 11 games, 12 games, you know, I think it sort of validates everything they just accomplished and shows that they are a bona fide threat in the AFC and especially in the AFC East and rivaling the Bills. But all in, very successful year, incredibly disappointing game. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, I think for all. Did you end up going to the game itself, or were you done after? Oh, you did.
I did. I was there. I was in house, and they did not give a lot of reasons to cheer throughout. Unfortunately, it's amazing. We've spent a lot of time talking about it, you know, since, but 3-0, 6-0, 9-0, 12-0. Like the game was never until obviously late in the second half out of reach in terms of the score. But the way that May was playing, the pressure that he was taking, the incredibly poor play from the offensive line, especially Will Campbell at left tackle, it never really felt like the Patriots were in it. Again, one touchdown could have changed everything. You make it you know, whether you're down 6-0, you go up a touchdown, you know, you score a touchdown, you go up a point, or even when it was, you know, 12-0, you score a touchdown, you make it 12-7, and all of a sudden, okay, if you can get a stop and then you got an opportunity to take a lead. There were all these moments where it felt like, yeah, they're not dead, at least in terms of the math, but do you really believe this team that for 3+ quarters can't get past midfield is about to make a run? And it never really felt like it was their day.
Yeah, I don't know how you ended up going to the game. I think I'm more interested in that because when I have gone to the Super Bowls that I've gone to, it's all been through media. I've never had a ticket.
Yeah.
And every single time I've gone through media, Adam, I've never been in the press box. I feel like I've always been the very last row of of the stadium in the auxiliary press conference or box. I don't know if you had a better seat than that. I hope you did, but my seats have always
fortunately. Fortunately, I was better positioned than the auxiliary press box. I was looking over in the distance. I saw it, and I saw some friends sitting in there from afar. But no, fortunately, something came through in the 11th hour, or however we want to put it, and managed to get myself in there. So that was great.
Good, awesome. Okay, so we go from the excitement of the Super Bowl to this horrible weekend of NBA basketball.
No, come on, this is what it's all about. This is what everyone looks forward to.
It's horrible. It's horrible. All right. So here's what I guess I gotta ask.
Yeah.
In the breakdown here, of which I will watch none of. So why is Damian Lillard in the 3-point contest when he hasn't played a game this season? And why is he the second shortest odds to win this? Is that something that people should bet?
Well, he's had plenty of practice time. There's no doubt about that. And on top of that, I'm just looking down at some of my notes here. Yeah, he's won the event twice before. So,
yeah,
he's familiar with the event. He obviously, knows what it takes. And again, he's 10 months removed nearly at this point from the Achilles surgery and that injury that he suffered in the postseason last year. So, I don't think the leg is going to be an issue. Clearly, he would not be participating if it was. And he is going to be the feel-good story. I'm sure plenty of people are going to be investing in him. And I don't really think rust, the fact that he hasn't had game action, is going to play into this thing because, again, this is a contest of ability and repetition. It has nothing to do with what you do out there in your games. And, like Devin Booker's won the event previously in 2018, I think it was, and he's having a miserable year shooting the ball. He's at like 31% from three, and he's still the favorite to win this thing. Why? Because, again, ability. It comes down to ability to shoot the 3-pointer in a gym, unguarded. And Damian Lillard, I'd be willing to bet, can still do that at a very comfortable level. And again, he's got nothing but time to just practice threes if he wants to. So I don't think, honestly, it's a bad bet. I think it's a little ridiculous that he's participating. Like we can't find 8 active participants that are worthy of being in this contest. We got to go to a previous 2-time winner who's unavailable this entire year for his new Portland team because of this injury and will not play this. It's the same thing as Mac McClung in the dunk contest the past 3 years.
I agree.
Where you're, masquerading a G leaguer out there and putting him in an NBA uniform and, having him participate just because he's an insane dunker for a little guy. It's stupid. So I do think it's a little dumb that Lillard's in the event. That being said, I don't think he's a bad bet. I think he's absolutely in play to win the thing.
He's got to be the most rested player going into this thing.
By far. He hasn't had to practice all year.
He's got a great shot. I mean, everyone talks about how in the contest, the last minute, the guy's legs get tired and arms get tired. This guy probably should be able to, I would think, win this thing. It's possible. I mean, you thought that was crazy. Let's look at the dunk contest, which is the craziest of them all, because our very own Kevin Walsh is in the dunk contest this year at 16-1. No, I'm just kidding. But it's really that. I mean, honestly, I could not tell you one thing. Keshad Johnson, I know because he plays on the Heat. Carter Bryant, Jackson Hayes, Jace Richardson. I think his dad was in this. Okay, so I guess I'm familiar with him as well, which makes me feel not old but super old in this. Look, what is left to do here with the dunk contest? They already have dunked over cars and fire and who knows what? Are they going to bring Bad Bunny in for this one too?
Have they done the MTV Rock and Jock lift? I think didn't Dwight Howard lift the hoop to 12 feet? I think that was one of his at some point in time. To your point,
yeah.
This is.
Oh, he had the Superman code. I remember that.
Well, he did. Yeah, he did the cape and all of that.
Yeah, right,
look, the dunk contest. It's a shame because obviously it used to be great. It used to be it's still the featured event. It's the last event of the night, but it used to be the showcase. Jordan against Neek, Neek is going to be one of the judges here in this thing, and it's all previous contest winners that are on that judging panel. At least 4 out of the 5. The 5th is yet to be determined. I guess a fan vote is determining who that's going to be. But in terms of name recognition, Craig, we've never had a worse dunk contest. I mean, it gets worse by the year. This is unbelievable. It doesn't mean it's going to be a bad contest. Maybe these guys are good dunkers. We'll find out. But in terms of the name, like, you don't have a John Morant, you don't have an Aaron Gordon again, or a Zach LaVine, or some of these guys that have, like, it's awful. I mean, Carter Bryant of the Spurs is the favorite. And, has a nearly 40-inch vertical, which is obviously incredibly impressive, and he's explosive. But again, he is the shortest odds. You look at Jackson Hayes, a 7-footer. Other than Dwight Howard, big men, like exceptionally big men, centers, they don't win this event. And so he's a bad bet. Never mind the fact that, we talk about Damian Lillard is a feel-good story. Nobody wants to bet on Jackson Hayes, who had a domestic violence incident recently and just got, suspended a game for shoving a mascot. So then it goes down to the 2 guys with the longest odds. You have Keyshawn Johnson, who you mentioned, who has a 42-inch vertical, which is bananas. Some great in-game dunks that you can Google as well. And then Jace Richardson, he's only 6'1". He's only dunked 4 times in a game this year, but his dad, Jason, did win this event twice. One of 7 multiple-time winners of the event. To me, it's one of those 2 guys. I'd probably invest in Johnson, though.
All right, thanks, Adam. I'll take Jinx Ball.
You guys had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. You knew you were facing a Mike McDonald defense that disguises everything, and that was your game plan, to play scared. I mean, Mike Vrabel, I love the guy. He played that game, Donnie, like it was a preseason scrimmage in August and not the Super Bowl.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl Sunday, about $870 million was traded. Again, I caution you, that is not the same as sports betting handle for a variety of reasons, but we also saw Nevada sportsbooks, which includes Las Vegas, only took about $133 million in handle. That was its worst performance in the decade in terms of total handle on the game. Now, we don't have ratings, we don't have a lot of other things. There's a lot of reasons for that.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Patriots postseason to the worst regular season of the last umpteen years. Fair enough?
Fair.
All right. So the Patriots postseason, they averaged 1.13 points per drive, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The winless Cleveland Browns about 10 years ago averaged 1.22.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
So Gary Bettman wants the USA to win because he knows the bump that they can get out of this. Canada wins, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Right? And the level of pressure on Canada in this is next level. It's like, it's equivalent to like Argentina in soccer or something, Brazil. It's one of those, like, yeah, if you lose, don't bother coming home.
Winter Games Central, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Man, it is great to catch up with my buddy. I'm not going to see him as much as I have in the past. Troy Johnston, big league player, of course, Now with the Colorado Rockies here on the show, and I wanted to catch up with Troy because a very big announcement was just made recently about the World Baseball Classic, and he is involved. Troy, it is great to see you. It is great to catch up with you. I know life now, spring training in Arizona, that's a little different, right, than doing it in Florida?
You know, it's a lot dustier here, and you don't hear that Florida bird in the morning. I never know what name it is, but I loved it. But it's a little bit different. Everything's a little closer, but the facilities are nice, and it's still baseball.
Yeah, it is. And Troy will get a great opportunity with the Rockies this season, and we're going to talk about that. He played with the Marlins 44 games last season, came up, made his big league debut. A story we'll tell here in a minute. Here is the story that I got to get to. Okay. The announcement is made for the World Baseball Classic. The rosters are announced last week, and Troy Johnston shows up on Team Israel. Of all teams, I was absolutely stunned. I was shocked. Troy, with me being Jewish, and obviously rooting for Team Israel in the past, knowing a lot of guys are on the team. How did you end up on this team? Your lineage, I have to ask, because I think even in Marlins fandom, it was an absolute shock for all of us to see this pop up. How did this happen?
So this has been kind of about a year and a half in the works. Of course, we had two former Team Israel coaches with Alon and Moskos. And so they kind of helped me with that. My dad did some research after I took a genealogy test, and it said I came back and I was 25% Jewish, and I was like, I thought I was something else. I never knew. It hadn't really been passed down, and my dad's side of the family, he actually did some digging, and we have a lot of Jewish heritage. And so my grandmother is Jewish, and so she was kind of the deciding factor on my eligibility to be a part of Team Israel, and I'm really excited to play on the WBC and represent Israel.
Yeah, and by the way, the Team Israel, I'm looking through the rosters. I mean, no disrespect to some of the other rosters, but you guys have a pretty good squad. I think that there is even a better chance that Team Israel goes a little bit further than they did the last go around. Who do you know on that squad thus far? Are you familiar with any of the guys?
So Carrick is who I'm working out with currently with the Rockies. I know Mervis. I played with Horwitz in the Fall League. Bader, of course, I played against with the Phillies, but I don't know him personally. So other than that, it's going to be a new squad for me, a new team, but I got a couple familiar faces.
Now, in order to be playing for this team, I'm guessing, Troy, that you had to want to do this. This was something in genealogy you could have just found out about it, and okay, that's cool. I found out something that I didn't know, but I'm guessing that you wanted to play in the World Baseball Classic, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, you talk about playing in the big leagues, you talk about playing in professional baseball in general. I mean, this is the Olympics of the big leagues. This is the Olympics of baseball in my mind, with no actual Olympic teams. And so this is on the biggest stage, playing in Miami again, where the crowds are going to be very loud, very into it. It's playoff baseball, and I'm a sucker for playoff style baseball. I love the energy. I love how every pitch matters, every swing matters, every decision matters. And, having the opportunity to play in the WBC, I get to, scratch that itch a little bit.
Yeah, and I guess I will see you at that, and certainly following it along, as I will. As you know, of course, I'm with the Marlins mostly. I mean, that's primarily what I'm doing here. And last season, you come up, Troy, and you make your major league debut. What a great moment I know it was for you and your family. And as you can see there, the numbers were pretty good too. When you got called up, you had a nice little cup of coffee there. And so the emotions. Let's start off with that, with making your big league debut and how the season played out with Miami.
I am so grateful and so blessed to have the opportunity to go up and, even have, like I said, the opportunity to go up and play in the big leagues and, see if I can hold my own. And I felt like I had the confidence and I had the skills, after my long road in the minors to, have some success up there and do my best. And, it was so much fun going up there. And a lot of the teammates that I had in Miami were guys that I came up playing with. I knew most of them. I didn't know 4 players on the whole team that I hadn't been teammates with previously. So it was fun. It was nice. It was really a testament to how hard my family worked for me and how much they put in effort, trusting me and being a part of my life and my journey. And, it was such a cool moment for not only for me, but for them as well.
I mean, an extraordinary story too for Troy. A lot of folks probably completely unfamiliar. Troy making his debut, 27, 28 years old, spent a lot of time in the minor leagues waiting to get his chance. So then you get it, Troy, with the Marlins, and then we find out a couple of months ago you're now moving on to the Colorado Rockies. So a little bittersweet, I would imagine, but probably I'm guessing the Rockies wanted you a little bit more than Miami, so you'll get a better opportunity to play there.
I hope so. I've met some great people down here, and I've been training here for about 2 weeks, trying to get to know everybody, trying to get ready, trying to get pumped up for spring training, and they got a great thing going on over here, and I'm really excited to be a part of this new organization and even their new wave of people that have been brought in to make a difference here in Colorado.
And so, where do things stand as far as what they've told you, your role in the organization? Try to make the team, try to get as much PT. That's just it, like it's always been?
Yeah, I think realistically, baseball's baseball. They're going to go with the hot hand, and they're going to go with who can make the most impact. And all I can do is try to put my best foot forward and give my best effort. And if however the dice roll, they're going to make their decision and they're going to do what they're going to do. It's business, but I'm hoping to vie for a spot and wherever they need me, whether it's the outfield, first base, and if they need a guy to hit the gaps and hit a couple RBI double, I'm their guy.
Well, you did it all last year with the Marlins when you got called up. I was so happy to see you get that opportunity. I'm even happier to see you on a WBC roster to play for Team Israel. So congratulations again, Troy, to you with that. And we will see you next month in South Florida. And we'll cover, of course, the WBC here on NewsWire. Thanks again for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate all the time.
All right, Troy Johnston here with us, the World Baseball Classic, getting ready to get started. And exhibitions for the WBC team starting up here in a couple of weeks as well. We'll take a quick time out here on NewsWire. More to come right after this quick timeout, so don't go away.
You guys had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. You knew you were facing a Mike McDonald defense that disguises everything, and that was your game plan, to play scared. I mean, Mike Vrabel, I love the guy. He played that game, Donnie, like it was a preseason scrimmage in August and not the Super Bowl.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl Sunday, about $870 million was traded. Again, I caution you, that is not the same as sports betting handle for a variety of reasons, but we also saw Nevada sportsbooks, which includes Las Vegas, only took about $133 million in handle. That was its worst performance in the decade in terms of total handle on the game. Now, we don't have ratings, we don't have a lot of other things. There's a lot of reasons for that.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Patriots postseason to the worst regular season of the last umpteen years. Fair enough?
Fair.
All right. So the Patriots postseason, they averaged 1.13 points per drive, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The winless Cleveland Browns about 10 years ago averaged 1.22.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
So Gary Bettman wants the USA to win because he knows the bump that they can get out of this. Canada wins, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Right? And the level of pressure on Canada in this is next level. It's equivalent to like Argentina in soccer or something, Brazil. It's one of those like, yeah, if you lose, don't bother coming home.
Winter Game Central, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Programming reminder, a couple of different programming reminders. I'll start off with 3 p.m. Eastern today. For those of you sticking around, I'll be on with George Kurtz on Fantasy Sports Today. It's our first look at the upcoming fantasy baseball season, so make sure you stay tuned. 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. And also, as one other quick reminder, on Monday, as I mentioned, Adam Kaufman's going to be in for me on Monday. So as we wrap up the show, those two quick programming reminders here for NewsWire. All right, as we wrap up the show, could prediction markets be on deck for Major League Baseball? Where is Nick Castellanos' next destination? And pretty big pickleball fight happening as well. It's time now for some last lick. All right, let's get started here. We got Rob Manfred. That's who that is. He is the commissioner of Major League Baseball. And a leaked memo yesterday that came out after a meeting with the owners in Palm Beach, Florida. It was reported yesterday that there's a possibility that Major League Baseball could allow advertising from prediction markets, meaning Kalshi and Polymarket, Crypto.com, Robinhood, all the rest, FanDuel, DraftKings too. As of right now, they're still looking into it, but the idea is that they could force integrity with the prediction markets if Major League Baseball was to be able to get involved. So basically what happens is prediction markets right now do allow Major League Baseball. And as you see that there's a lot of futures and a lot of predictions, probably going to have some in spring training too. With baseball being involved, with some oversight being involved, they could in turn regulate some of this. So that's certainly interesting. As of right now, we have yet to see any of the National Football League, the National Basketball Association, or Major League Baseball get involved with it. We've seen the MLS. We've seen individual players, both on the Live Golf Tour and in the NBA, with Giannis having a partnership stake. But we have yet to see one of those major sports get involved. We'll have to see in the coming days if this is something that comes to fruition. Naturally, would have to be a partnership between one of the prediction market companies, or maybe two, and Major League Baseball as well. Okay, Nick Castellanos, not shy about words. That is for sure. After being involved in an incident last year with his manager, Rob Thompson, Castellanos got into a verbal altercation with him and then was told to sit the bench the following day. If you know anything about Nick Castellanos, regardless of his play on the field, the guy always plays. In fact, he plays 150 to 160 games every single season, and a streak of sorts came to an end last year when he was told that he was going to be benched because of getting to a war of words with his manager. Castellanos then was told basically not to show up to spring training this season, so he did not. And then yesterday, when it was apparent that the Phillies would not find a taker for him via any trade because of the salary that he makes, even though Phillies probably are going to eat the whole thing anyway, they decided to just part ways with Castellanos. That was the end of Castellanos' term in Philadelphia. He'll still get paid his entire salary by them this season. Castellanos, in turn, made the comment, which was a little surprising, that he showed up last year to talk to his manager, Rob Thompson, about his benching by bringing a cold one, a beer, into the dugout during the game. Apparently, it was a Presidente beer as well. So Castellanos, who was a great interview, very funny, very deadpan, generally speaking. I don't know that that was the best idea to reveal that because a lot of folks did not know that. He will pass through waivers. Some team will obviously sign him, and he'll be at spring training with somebody in the next 7 to 10 days. But hopefully no more beer in the dugout because I'm going to have to believe that that is not a scene that any other team wants to see. Okay, at the Winter Olympics, a Slovak fugitive who was wanted for 16 years by the Italian police was arrested in Milan, where he had come to cheer on his national ice hockey team at the Winter Olympics. Word to the wise, if you're a fugitive and you try and show up for the biggest event in the world, there's a chance that you're going to get caught. So congrats to Italy for making this guy come out to their events and get caught. 16 years on the run. What a bad decision. I shouldn't laugh about it, but what a bad decision by this guy to show up at the Olympics. Actually, you're going to be on a very specific list when you're a fugitive. And if you travel at all, you use your credit card and you use some of your information, you're going to get busted. And apparently that's what this guy did. All right, that'll do it for the show today. I had a fun pickleball story to tell you. Maybe I'll bring it to you next week. But anyway, that'll do it for our show. Thanks again to Tom Vecchio for coming on the program, Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report, John Lafayette from The Measure, Adam Kaufman here from Sports Grid, and my buddy Troy Johnston from the Colorado Rockies. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thanks again to my director Luke and my producer Frank. Awesome week from our entire crew here on Sports Grid, on NewsWire of shows. It's been a lot of fun. We'll see you back here Monday for our next edition of the show. Have a great weekend, everyone.